In this chapter, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the UI frameworks that are available to you with Liferay out of the box. So when it comes to CSS, JavaScript, or HTML, we're going to go ahead and see what tools we have available to us and see what we have to work with. So in this section, what we're going to do is we're going to start by taking a look at what CSS framework options we have and Liferay's design language. So let's go ahead and take a look. Now, when it comes to starting off and considering how things should look on the platform, design languages are actually quite important. You have things like material design, iOS design, etc., etc. What these do is these allow you to provide your own design solution that fits into the sort of economy of the framework you're working in. So material design allows us to create things that fit in with some of the Google applications, for example. iOS design allows us to do the same thing for Apple. So if we want it to look like an app that fits on an iPhone, we can use the design language to do just that. Liferay has provided their own design language called Lexicon. And what this does is it gives us a common framework for building our interfaces within the Liferay ecosystem. So it's basically a guide to consistent design principles, components, patterns, etc. This is not our CSS framework. It is the philosophy behind the CSS framework that we have available to us. Lexicon is based on the atomic design theoretical approach. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time in this video talking about all of the details of the design language itself. I would encourage you to pause and take a look at lexicondesign.io, and this will give you a fuller presentation of all of the design patterns and aspects of the Lexicon design language. But to break down, what we do is we cover the following elements and how they should be designed. We have principles for color, for the grid structure, okay, for how to do responsive layout, typography, as well as writing style. Okay, and there's actually a new section in there for animations as well. So go ahead and pause the video now, take a look at lexicondesign.io, and get a feel for the different design principles established in the Lexicon design language. Now, the Lexicon design language, again, gives us the sort of baseline, the principles, the philosophy behind the design. The actual implementation of Lexicon is called Clay. Now, if you're coming from a previous version of Liferay, you might remember that we had the Lexicon design language and Lexicon CSS. That brought about a little bit of confusion. So what we've done since then is we've distinguished the two. So now we have the Lexicon design language and we have the Clay implementation of the Lexicon design language. Okay, so we just call it Clay. Clay in 7.1 is built on Bootstrap 4, and it allows us to extend and create new components that we can use to fit into the sort of Lexicon design schema. So what this means is front-end developers have access to both Bootstrap 4 and the Clay components available to them. So we'll be taking a look at this as well. One key difference being with Bootstrap 4, we have converted less to Sass, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we start building our theme. All right, so let's take a look at a couple examples of how Clay is working with some components that we can use. If we wanted to, for example, build some cards, Clay gives us a number of classes that implement, again, that Lexicon design, so it gives us the consistent look and feel that actually fits in the Liferay ecosystem. So this is an example here of a div structure. We have classes like the card type asset, just simple card classes. We have some form classes, and we're also using some classes like aspect ratio, as well as some of our stickers. So we'll get some hands-on with this. We'll see more of what this looks like, but essentially what Clay allows us to do is use some of these classes and inherit some of that design. Now, Clay is going to be found in the base theme when we start building our theme together. So there is customization that can be done to make sure that we take those components and we can make them fit into our branding as needed as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to just do some quick, brief exercises here together where we're able to add some basic web content and take a look at some of these Clay classes in practice so that we can add some buttons, add a little menu with the buttons, and see what that actually looks like on the platform. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right in and just take a quick look at some Clay classes in practice.